Welcome to the Angelthorn podcast with me, Joy Angelthorn. Today's podcast is a Teaching Excellent podcast about how to take their thinking beyond their limiting beliefs using NLP, Teaching Excellence, and my spheres of joy. So I work with young people that are not in school for some reason. They come along to our Simon project in Southampton and learn how to engage with life through music and performing activities. One of the things I teach most of my students eventually is to discover the magic of feeling centred in their own personal sphere. It's an anchor I can get them to use to learn how to manage their own state more easily. To help them discover their personal sphere, I have my students feel the edge of it by having someone get in their face too close in some way, and then have the student tell them how far back to stand for it to feel comfortable again. We measure this distance as the edge of their own personal sphere, or ball, or bubble, or my favourite at the moment is orb. With arms outstretched to the sides, the edge of the orb, or their personal sphere, is usually about 2 inches either side, and then all the way round them. I have them imagine the edge of their bubble in front of them, to the sides, behind them, the space above and below them, all formed into their own personal bubble, emanating out from a central balancing point deep within them, extending that to a core line going straight down from the top of their head all the way down through their body into the earth. I get them to imagine the surface tension of their personal sphere, like that of the surface of a soap bubble, fluid yet unbreakable. I want to digress a little bit here about balance and balancing. One of the denominalizations I like to introduce is the difference between balanced as the nominalization and balancing as a denominalized verb. I don't necessarily tell them that, but I like them to get into the idea of balancing. I'll demonstrate how come I do this. So if you stand up for a moment and imagine that you're inside of your own personal soap bubble, beautiful, wonderful, iridescent soap bubble with its swirling and whirling colours, and then close your eyes, and you will notice that your body is continually making micro movements, like it's adjusting and balancing and readjusting to the environment in some way all of the time. So I get people to do this so that they can start focusing inwardly, noticing how their body is balancing all of the time, processing their environment in some way. It's not absolutely static or still at all. It's making these micro movements so they can feel balanced. Yet really, their bodies are always balancing all of the time. There are so many possibilities playing with these internal little movements, turning attention inward this way, discovering how different thoughts produce different feelings and ideas, and how the movement of different feelings in the body can be calibrated and the useful ones repeated and learned. This is one technique that works brilliantly with my students to help them get moving in a general sense beyond their limiting beliefs. Have a go. You can do this within the idea of having your personal sphere surrounding you or not, depending on preference. However, it's important you have a sense of midline running down from the crown of your skull to a point directly below between your feet. with full awareness of your midline running all the way down through you, you then pivot on that midline axis, turning around 180 degrees with your back to me. Now it's time to think of your perceived limitations and how they make you feel. No need to focus in on any specific one. Just get in touch with the general feelings you have of limitation in your life right now. Feel that as one feeling of limitation that you're carrying with you at the moment. Feel how that feeling moves and how big it is. What shape is it? Get to know it. Get to stretch your senses so you can feel the edge of it. Where does it start? Where does it stop? If it had a name, what would it be, that feeling of limitation? If it had a colour, what colour is it, that feeling of limitation? Once you have thoroughly explored that sense of limitation, leaving that feeling behind you, turn back on your central midline so that you can feel that feeling has been left behind you. Notice how different it feels with that feeling happening behind you now. We can come back to that. Look at how you feel differently in front of you now, with the sensations of limitation behind you. Notice how different it feels in front of you. What are the differences? How do they feel, look and sound differently? At this point, I usually get them to describe the differences. They say words like calm, open, spacious, curious, all those sorts of words, typical of what I hear from them. Then I suggest they get all their feelings they have about making and creating music, the feelings they have with them that day, and pour those feelings and ideas into this meeting. Just do it for fun, to have a go at wearing this feeling as they go about making music today, without their feelings of limitations, with those feelings behind them. Once I have a good rapport with my students, I find they love to play around with their minds like this. Only to really get the most potential from this technique, it's best to have the skills of a master practitioner of NLP. Ooh, it's time to go now. Thank you so much for listening to my Angelthorn podcast with me, Joy Angelthorn. Until next time, bye.